happy spooky season once again. Board now, back with Rachel McDonald. On this video, we're going to look at The Pit and the Pendulum from 1961. So this is a pretty famous story because it is based on Edgar Allan Poe story. And it's kind of the magic trio in a way because it's based on a Poe. It's directed by Roger Corman, and it stars the classic horror icon Vincent Price. And for those of you who follow this stuff, like Roger Corman did a series of Poe adaptations. He also did a version of The Raven, which Vincent Price was in. He also did War of the House of Usher. He did that. So it's a series of films based on Poe works, which Vincent Price also starred in. And Vincent Price plays Nicholas, who, at least on the face of it, for a lot of the movie, is like the more sympathetic character of the movie, even though we're used to him playing villains a lot of times. But the setup for the movie is then his wife has mysteriously disappeared, suspected dead because it's been so long, and that becomes the mystery of the film. What exactly has happened to her? There's suspicion thrown on various members of Nicholas's family, on Nicholas himself, and they do this thing where you get different perspectives of the same story of what might have happened, with people telling different versions through the flashbacks. Barbara Steele plays the wife, by the way. She's a pretty well-known horror actress from this sort of time period. And that becomes the mystery. With it being a horror, we get a suspected supernatural element. Then the wife may well be dead and may well be haunting her ex-husband. I take it this was the first time watch for you, Rachel? Yeah. Well, it was the second time watch for me, but it has been a while, so I did need a bit of a refresh. So when I started watching it, the film played out in a little bit of a different way than I was thinking it was going to. And it was, there was just certain things where I thought, okay, I don't really remember this, or, this is playing out a little differently. So what did you think of this movie?
Look, I didn't love this one. I thought it was okay. Some parts I thought were really effective, and Vincent Price is really fun. Like, he was easily the best part of this movie. You can tell he's having a lot of fun playing this character, especially because his character is a little bit shifty, so you don't always know, is he the bad guy? Is he not the bad guy? Is he going mad? Is he doing something? And I thought that Price played that very, very well. I didn't mind the woman who played his sister either. I thought her character was quite convincing. And then you had the brother of the wife. So it starts when the brother comes to the castle, and it's set in like the 1600s. And I always like a good period piece. But I did find in parts of this movie that I was tuning out a bit. I think there was maybe a little bit of pacing issue for me, especially like towards the middle part where we were like kind of trying to figure out like what the backstory is, what's actually happened to his wife. That being said, I thought the first 20 minutes or so were really solid, really good. Like, I loved the opening atmosphere. You got this very kind of creepy mist, this single guy in a carriage going to like this derelict castle. I thought the opening score was quite off kilter, and it kind of already put you in an eerie mood. Then, of course, you got that great bit where the sister is like taking him down to see. That's right, because I think they say the wife is dead and she's been interred in their like mausoleum, because that was like a thing back then. You didn't bury people, you interred them in your family crypts. And she takes him down to the dungeons, and it's already very, mysterious and creepy. And then there's like this big noise coming from behind one of the doors, and the brother goes to like like check the door, and Vincent Price just pops up out of nowhere. It's like a great little jump scare. He just opens the door and boom, there he is. And I thought that was really fun. But like I said, I found towards the middle part of the film, I was starting to tune out a little bit. And there were a few bits where I was like, okay, so what's going on here? I thought some of the flashback scenes were interesting. The filming and the way that they used color gradients to portray the different moods and, you know, the different traumas from the childhood, which we will find out about, were very interesting. And I thought when we got towards the end and we got some reveals, which we'll obviously talk about when we get into spoilers, I thought some of those reveals were quite fun. And we'll talk about this when we get to them, but I thought the end shot of the movie was brilliant and was a really great place to end the film. But yeah, there was just a bit in the middle where I just got a little bit lost and just a little bit just started to tune out a little bit in places and found myself kind of losing interest. But the good thing with the film, though, was that it always did bring me back. So even when I would start to meander, something would happen on screen that would then pull me back into the movie. And like I said, I do think that the ending was really good. So I think the beginning and the ending were really good, but I do feel like the film got a little bit lost in the middle, at least for me. I thought the sets were great. I do love period films from this time. In 1960s, like, they really knew how to do period films back then. And, you know, a lot of the sets are really great.
Yeah.
The costumes are really sumptuous. You know, they had, a lot of fun, I think, with, like, lighting and shadows and light and dark, especially when we were down in, like, the catacombs area. So, yeah, overall, I didn't love it, but there were parts that I thought were really good. And like I said, Vincent Price was fantastic. I thought he was easily the best part of the film. And it did keep me intrigued, at least until the end, you know, when we got that reveal. But yeah, I think maybe if I rewatched it, maybe I could get into it a little bit more. But first impressions were, it was not as good as I was maybe expecting it to be. What about you? So you said this was your second time watching this film?
Probably in a similar place. So, because I've seen a few of these, like, Poe adaptations, Roger Corman, and obviously Vincent Star. And I think compared to some of the others, this is a bit of a lesser one. Like, I would say I prefer The Raven to this one. Like, I think that's a lot of fun. I think it's one, although I can't remember exactly, but The Mask of the Red Death or something,
yes,
it's called.
That is another one,
Price,
yes.
And that's excellent. Like, I thought that's a really good movie, full of, like, atmosphere and style. And yeah. So I think I was similar on this, where I would say it's overall a good movie, but I agree with you, it did drag in places, and, like, because there were definitely moments where it was pretty atmospheric, and like, as always, I got a lot out of Vincent Price in the movie. But yeah, in general, the other characters I thought were pretty boring. Like, I thought the brother, that actor, was a really bad actor. And
yeah, I agree.
He grated on me quite a lot, and yeah, it was a bit sluggish at times, like the pacing, and like, overall there could have been a little bit more atmosphere. There was definitely, like, scenes where you had good atmosphere, and the flashback scenes were quite well done. Like, I agree with that, because I like what they did with the different colors, the collage feel, and I think the idea is that they were trying to, like, make it quite trippy type feeling, like, to show that it's a flashback and this is in one character's head. And I always quite like, especially movies from this time period, playing with, like, structure like that. It's like, okay, this character has a different take on it, and every character appeared to be shades of, like, light and dark, where they all could have been, like, sort of villainous potentially. So like, you could almost say, yeah, can we really trust this person's point of view? Drag a bit at times, and I think that, and the fact that the other characters just weren't as interesting to watch as Vincent Price. Some of them were really dull. I mean, Barbara Steele, who plays the wife, I always enjoy. So I thought she was I mean, we're jumping forward to spoilers, but I thought she was a really good pantomime villain when that was all revealed. So she was giving it her all, poetic sort of language at times, and that's another reason why the casting of Price works, because he
Yes.
really gets to grip with like the material and like the line deliveries, because like he always does this. He like delivers every line like it's his last line, you know. He gives
That's a great way to put it. That
yeah,
is so good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gives so much weight behind this stuff and the drama,
Mm,
and it is just captivating to watch. But
mm.
it was funny then for a lot of the movie, like he was a more sympathetic character.
Yeah.
The tables, which I mean, in the context of the movie, like maybe you can't blame him, but then he does go absolutely insane and go after people who weren't even in on it. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But that's when you get the classic Vincent Price sort of madman style persona. So that was very enjoyable. But
Mm.
yeah, it's funny for a lot of the movie. Like I had a lot of sympathy for him, and
Yes, I
I
did
think
too.
that comes through in the performance. So
Yeah. So there were a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about because there were a couple of things where I was like, okay, so let's figure out what exactly is going on here. So we'll get into some spoilers here because I need to discuss it. So we find out in the film that Vincent Price and his sister, their father was a part of the Spanish Inquisition, apparently, and apparently that's what the original story is about. The original story is told from the point of view of someone being tortured through the Spanish Inquisition. So his father Sebastian, and apparently his mother was having an affair, and so the father found out, tortured the mother and her lover to death, and then we find out that the mother was actually buried alive or interred alive, which ugh, never a
yeah,
good thing. It's all that being buried alive is. I know that the chances of it happening to me are like slim to none, but it's seriously a massive fear. And then of
sure.
course he's worried that his wife was interred alive. And they do have a scene where, and this was one of the scenes that I thought was quite effective, where they go and they open up her grave and they see her body, and it looks like she's tried to claw her way out of the grave. But then you find later in the movie that her death was actually faked and that she is actually still alive, and it's her and the doctor trying to like drive Vincent Price mad. So who was the body in the grave? Did they just go and like dig up another body, or was it like actually her just like play acting? What did you end up thinking had happened when we got to the reveal?
I think it would be a stretch to think it was her play acting, because that looked
Yeah.
really authentic. You know, it looked
Yes.
a bit like a legitimate body. So we can only assume that yeah, they dug up some grave.
Ooh. Oh, that's nasty. That's
I mean,
nasty. We're
obviously
getting into
these
nasty
people are
territory.
pretty twisted, so I guess they're willing to go to lengths. But
Mm.
yeah, that's the only thing I can assume. But
Okay.
then she's been having an affair with the doctor, and like
History
this.
repeating itself kind of
Okay,
thing, I think it's supposed to show. And then
sure.
towards the end, so they basically they want to drive Vincent Price's character mad so that he will then, the estate can then be theirs. So at the end, the way I read it is they did succeed in driving him mad, but they succeeded so well that he cracked and took on his father's persona. And then that drove him into like the torturous thing. So that's how I read it. Did you read it like
Okay.
that? Or did you read it more like he was play acting and he decided to kind of mess with them by going into his father's persona, but he was actually aware of what he was doing? What do you reckon happened to him at the end?
Really cotton on, then that's what was happening. So I guess I just thought then he'd literally just gone mad. So he was like
Yeah, but
attacking.
that's what I thought had happened too. Like that they cracked him so badly that he actually just withdrew into this persona that was his father's, but he's
Okay.
actually gone mad. And then because he starts calling them by the names of like his
Yeah,
mother and
that's right.
yeah. Mm.
No, I think you must be right, because like otherwise, because throughout the film he seems like a pretty reasonable guy,
Yeah.
and like you said, he was getting the names wrong of like his brother and that. So
Yeah.
it makes sense with what you're saying that maybe he'd gone into his father's persona.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't see any other reason he would have went after his brother, who was
Yeah.
obviously innocent. So
Mm.
yeah, I think that's probably what happened, I would say.
It was an interesting reveal. It was an interesting twist, and I actually, when it got to the end of the movie, I actually quite liked that. Like, I liked the reveal that the wife was still alive. I thought that was fun. And like you said, the lady who played her was obviously having a lot of fun playing like the hammy, cheesy villain at the end. And then because there's that moment where you can see that he's clocked out, Vincent Price, and he's kind of glaring at her, and all of a sudden you see something snap and he starts referring to her by the mother's name, and I'm like, yeah, something's definitely cracked. You guys did your job, but you did it a little too well. You've driven him into like pure insanity, but I guess that's kind of the fun of the story.
Yeah, which is actually a pretty smart twist if you think of it.
It is,
it's gone to like the next sort of level of, okay, this has backfired on you, but to a whole new level rather than it just being literally the guy getting revenge sort of thing.
Yeah. It was a nice kind of cruel irony, you know, like I said, you did what you wanted, guys. I mean, you got what you wanted. You drove him mad, but you had no idea what was going to happen. And it's just a pity that like that interesting ending is tacked onto a film that does tend to meander a bit in places, because if they'd gotten, I think, maybe slightly better actors, because you're right, the guy who plays the brother was terrible, and every time he opened his mouth it was like, what drama school did you go to, buddy? This is just not good. And like you said, the other characters were just not that interesting, and Vincent Price can definitely carry the movie on his own, but he shouldn't have to. Like, your main actor should not just be the only one. Like, you should pay attention to everything else. And of course, in the flashback scenes where he's playing his own father, and then at the end when he snaps, you know, and he's got the red hood on, and he's like gone full-blown insane. Yeah, that is a lot of fun. That is really excellent. And that's like Vincent Price getting to like pull out the full hamminess and like just really give himself over to the role. And you can see how much fun he's having throughout the whole movie.
And this comes back to like some of the staging or just to do with like the era, because I love the use of like torture devices like you see in that flashback, and like the big set piece with the pendulum itself. I mean, that is such a good set piece. That is
fantastic.
I said it on stream, like they should bring that stuff back now. Because you could almost do that sort of set piece in like a Bond movie, and
definitely
would be that Bond would somehow squirm out and escape at the last minute, but the villain would be there all cackling, monologuing. It's like, ha, I've got you now, and it's just one of these really cool psychological things where the longer it takes, the crueler it is. Especially if you just think, I'm not getting out of this. It might as well just kill me now, but it's like dragging it out.
It's torturing you. You have to watch your doom come for you.
Yeah.
That was a great set piece. I thought all of the set pieces were really fun. That castle was really fun. I thought they had a lot of fun with that set. Again, going down into the dungeon with the torture chamber, I thought there was some really fun use of cinematography and lighting and angles there. And like I said, the beginning was really fun with the mist and the eerie score, and it really did set the atmosphere. It's just a pity that it then kind of devolved a little bit into a bit of a boring slump, but at least it picked back up at the end, you know. And I'm going to talk with, so once Vincent Price's character, you know, snaps, he has a fight with the doctor. The doctor ends up dying, but we don't see what he does with the wife until the end of the film. So the sister comes and saves, you know, the boring guy from Vincent Price. There's a struggle, and Vincent Price characters falls, and then they're all like, this torture chamber, no one will ever enter it again. And they close the door and they leave, and then the camera pans around to reveal the wife is still in one of the torture devices, and she's horrified. And I just thought that is such a great way to end the movie. It's a really dark ending. It shows the karma that's been doled out to this woman who's put, you know, these people through these months of torture and basically caused the death of all of these people. And it's a really great ending for a horror film. I love when a horror film ends on like that sort of note. It's almost like, you know, those X-Files endings that you get in the 90s where there's always that last little hint that something's still wrong. So I thought, and of course, the actress's facial expressions in that scene I thought was so good. So I thought the ending of the movie was really strong. And yeah, those last 10, 15 minutes with the pendulum scene was fantastic. Vincent Price hamming it up. A great ending, a good beginning, just not a great middle, I thought. I think that comes down to, yeah, a bit of the pacing, a bit of the writing, and definitely a lot of the acting.
Yeah, because unfortunately, because of the story, the nature of it, you do spend quite a lot of times with those characters
Yeah.
too, because there's a lot of like the family drama and who did this, who did that,
Yes.
and so that does drag it down quite a lot. But yeah, I'm with you that a lot of the horror moments pretty much worked, and there's just some things about like old school horror which I enjoy, which are just like they're creepy, but they're also fun as well. And like, because I do like the fact that when it appeared he was being haunted, you just heard the wife's voice like cackling like off in the background, like stuff like that. I really enjoy. I did have another question, like the stuff with Price when he turns the table tended to be dead to sucker them in, but did you think he knew all along that was happening, like they were having that affair, or is it on the spur of the moment he just
I think it's on the spur of the moment. He just clued in. Yeah, no, I think that if he'd known, he would have played it as being a bit more astute, but he seemed to be genuinely grieving to me and genuinely to not understand what happened to his wife. And yeah, so the whole movie, I remember thinking, this guy hasn't actually done anything to his wife because he is just way too confused. And I think Price played the grief really well, and he almost played the character like he was quite fragile. You know, there were a few moments where he would faint or he would be very overwhelmed with what was going on, which is why I think at the end when you see his mind snap, it actually does make sense because you've seen the whole movie, he's actually in this very fragile state of mind. So no, I don't think he knew. I think he only realized towards the end what was going on, and that's when he kind of snapped.
It's a solid movie with some really good moments, but yeah, it definitely drags at times.
Yeah.
And as someone who's seen a few of these like poet adaptations with Corman and Price, I think maybe it suffers a bit in comparison with some of those because, like I said, The Raven I would say is better than this. Mask of the Red Death, I thought that was very good. I mean, you almost have the classic Vincent Price throughout that, and that is, I think, throughout a more stylish sort of movie that leans into being quite wacky as well at times. But so I think that's the thing. I think this is overall a good movie, but it maybe pales a little bit compared to those other ones. So what would you rate this one?
I think I'm going to go with 6.5 out of 10 because, like I said, it was enjoyable. The beginning I thought was good and great ending, but the fact that it dragged in the middle definitely brought it down. And the fact that the only truly great actor in it was Vincent Price and maybe the chick who played his wife, but everyone else was just a bit on the blah side. But I didn't hate it. And like I said, I definitely give it another rewatch and or give it another watch rather, and see if my mind changes. But at this point, I think I'm going to go at 6.5. So good, but not great. What about you?
Well, I'm in a similar area. I'll go a little bit higher. I'll go with a 7.
Yeah.
As I said, to sum it up, I think it is mostly a good movie, but yeah, you do have it dragging in the middle, and the other, like you said, I think Price and the wife are the standout, and then the other characters aren't that good, and yeah, I think it just, as I said, pales a little bit in comparison to some of those other Corman Poe adaptations that I've seen. Solid movie, enjoyable at times. So yeah, definitely worth a look. And there are other like adaptations of this same story. There's one from the early 90s, which I'm going to check out soon actually, with Lance Henriksen.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. So that could be worth checking out. If we're going to be reviewing the new Mike Flanagan series, which is based on the Fall of the House of Usher, so that's another Poe one. And yeah, that's new Netflix series which is coming up this month, so look out for us covering that. We, of course, did Haunting of Hill House a couple of years ago, I think now. Seems like it anyway, but yeah, we covered that, a previous Flanagan series, so you can check out those reviews and look out for more reviews throughout October. Rachel, if you want to plug your channel before we go.
Guys, you can follow me, Rachel McDonald, video essays on movies and TV shows. I should have some stuff up for the spooky season, Halloween themed, and my Tumblr and my Twitter are linked through my YouTube. So Keith usually puts a link in the description, so come and follow me everywhere.
Thanks, guys. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments. Like and subscribe, as I said, and enjoy spooky season. See you soon.